even though there may be some other people coming in later. And I take it that each person simply starts off. Nobody... Yeah. Yes, all right. As you know from the program, we're dealing with the topic law and gospel, how they relate in a pluralistic society. I'm giving two papers today. This one relates to the theme of the conference for this year. The one later on is apologetic in character. There is a linkage, and I'll try to point that out as we move along. Most of you are well acquainted with the Reformation theme of the so-called proper distinction between law and gospel. This is a theme that was very important in the theology of Luther. He delivered a sermon on the subject, the proper distinction between law and gospel, and there is a classic 19th century Lutheran work by C.F.W. Walther with that title. So I want to say a word about that distinction to begin with. The distinction is simply that between what we do and what God does. Law consists of requirements placed upon us, either by political organs or by the Lord himself in his revelation, things that we are to do, and gospel consists of what he has done for us as a result of our not fulfilling the law as he has set it down. The reason for the tremendous importance of this distinction is that no one gets saved by law. It is impossible to be saved by law simply because of the fall and the fact that human beings don't fulfill the law to divine standards. So, in order to be saved, one is saved by gospel and by gospel alone. It's sola gratia. And the scriptural justification for this, of course, comes in passages such as John 1, 12 and 13, Ephesians 2, 8 and 9, and so on. Now, with that basic distinction that is scriptural and emphasized by the Reformers, we find that classic Christian theology talks about three uses of the law. It's interesting that these three uses are employed in virtually all of Western theology. They aren't limited to a particular confessional group at all. And these three uses, which you probably are well familiar with as well, also, are the political, the so-called pedagogical, and the third use. This third use is not designated by a particular adjective. It's simply referred to as the third use. The political use of the law, of course, refers to the need for law to keep us from eating each other. Left to ourselves in a fallen state, we would destroy each other if it weren't for the structures of the law. The expression Schöpfungsordnungen is often used for this. The orders of creation. God has provided law in order to keep us from destroying ourselves. Second use of the law, the pedagogical use of the law, is a bit of a misnomer, at least in terms of the modern expression pedagogical. It comes from the use of the term pedagogos in the New Testament. The law as a schoolmaster, a pedagogos, to bring us to Christ. The pedagogical use is the use of the law that causes us to reflect upon our condition, to realize that we haven't been fulfilling the law on the level that the Lord would require, and therefore that the only possible hope for us comes by way of the gospel. Pedagogical use then centers on the proper distinction between law and gospel. And then there is the third use of the law, the so-called sanctifying use of the law. And the point here is that once one has been saved, one moves into a different kind of understanding of law. One can say with the psalmist, "How I love thy law," because up to the point of salvation, one is threatened by the law. The law, along with sin, death, and the devil, stand over against man and condemn him. Whereas, once one comes into a proper relationship with Christ, one sees the law as an expression of the divine will, and therefore one sees it not as hostile under any and all conditions. Now, this is the classic theological way of looking at the relationship of law and gospel. What we're going to do today, in the few minutes we have here, is to broaden this and deal with a wider question. Namely,
Sample complete. Ready to continue?